The top tier AC and RF not in quite form. We'll find out in a moment. Team Queso against Spacestation Gaming. Queso, coming off that huge win of the No Tilt League Special Edition, looked almost unbeatable. Spacestation Gaming, as I said the other day, the worst kept secret in Clash Royale, now here in CRL. Andrew, tell us about Team Queso.
Well, they finally got some hair to match their name. I am JP, the golden-haired golden boy, as you named him in 2018, is back in CRL West, and he's here with Team Queso. Let's see if they can back things up today against a massive SSG roster.
On the other side of it, Spacestation Gaming, one of the most long-standing duos in 2v2, Crap and the God RF. Lapacati, the consensus Rookie of the Year in the 2019 spring season, or Rookie of the Season, with all the questions come down to this opening set, to this 2v2, who shows up.
Yeah, Benny and IMJP going to come out for Team Queso. They're banning Giant Skeleton. RF and AC, just as we expected, coming out for Spacestation Gaming with the ban of Tornado.
A lot of 2v2 in CRL EU back in the day, although did get some experience with his turn with kicks over in CRL Asia. So here we go. Game number 1, 2v2, AC and RF for Spacestation at the top of your screen, Benny Who and IMJP for Team Queso at the bottom, and this is a fast start. Miners both directions, split wall breakers twice now from Spacestation at the bridge.
And this is exactly the type of play you expect from AC and RF. It's high octane, high communication, and they're going out of the gates blazing right now. They're obviously going to slow down a little bit. You can't just keep doing that over and over here in 2v2, but I at least like the confidence I'm seeing from AC and RF.
Good catch there to open up. And for those of you keeping track of things on Twitter, Team Queso does have a full team house in Spain, all sitting together. And Spacestation was looking at all the teams that had players together and decided, let's go ahead and make it happen. So while they're not all together, the 2v2 duo, AC and RF, are in the God RF's place in Arizona. So they are sitting side by side for these games.
And I think that's really important when it comes to the 2v2. I don't think you have to be in the house if you're the 1v1 specialist, the head-to-head specialist, but getting your 2v2 players in the same room, it almost feels like a necessity at this point. If you're hearing about all the best teams doing it, you really don't want that disadvantage going into the game.
Here we go, passing the midway point of regulation time, and it is Spacestation Gaming ahead by a couple hundred HP on the right-hand side, although a decent counter push building up now for Team Queso.
Yeah, and the other big ban that I think that we'll see a lot of is the miner. It was the same thing we've seen in every single season. Every now and then there's just teams that just really don't want to face it in 2v2 because it's so difficult to keep up with the miner cycles coming in and out from both players, and of course, rotating where the miner is when Tornado's not in effect.
Dark Prince a little bit late this time, so now it's Team Queso taking the lead as we move into double elixir time by about 250 HP and some chip damage on the left-hand side from the Magic Archer, making things real dicey there for Team Queso.
It is pretty fascinating to see that these guys ran such similar decks here in game number 1, and we haven't really seen a lot of this in our 2v2 sets yet, but apparently both squads here went with the exact same idea, and we're very, very close here on our top right and bottom left towers.
We'll see if they can keep doing that on the right-hand side, Andrew. As you were talking, we might have seen, for some of you, a fireball coming out in response to those 2 elixir wall breakers on defense from Spacestation and falling a little bit behind on elixir because of that. So we'll see if that has an effect as time goes forward. Here we are, final 20 seconds of regulation, and it still is the cheesy ones in the lead.
Yeah, and you can see that Crap and the God RF are here still going very aggressive in the left-hand lane, getting any damage where they can. But Queso still in that lead. IMJP and Benny Who playing very, very well right now against a very seasoned 2v2 duo.
Miter does not get caught, so the Mega Knight has to come out to prevent any more damage, although Team Queso has done a good job of getting some stuff back on that left-hand side. No geometry for this Magic Archer, so here we go. Sudden death overtime. Ooh. And a good shot here for Spacestation.
Would have been nice for them to be able to hit that log on top of the tower on the right-hand side. You saw them miss the poison Team Queso on the left because they're not really going for damage on that tower, but that log chip damage on the right that they just missed would have been nice.
Huge connection on the left-hand side with the wall breakers, temporarily gets the lead, and now the rocket takes it back for Queso, but here we go, Spacestation Gaming gets it done on the left-hand side.
The spell power coming out. It's always tough when that rocket comes out at the end of the game. You know they're only one more rocket away, essentially. They just need to get back around their cycle one more time, but the commitment of that 6 elixir to a tower, straight up damage.
For game number 1, fell behind early on, made some adjustments, and it was a pair of wall breakers that just there was nothing in cycle for Team Queso to stop it.
5%, the other one clearly below 20%. Maybe they just needed to even out where they were going to place their damage.
Here we go, taking a look at the final moments, I believe. And this is the wall breaker connection. So take a look. This pair of wall breakers sneaks through. There's no small spell. Bats can't stop it. So that doesn't only get tower damage, but kills any real potential of a counter push. And that was the big moment that started pushing things in the direction of Spacestation.
Yeah, and there was just too much of a gap there at the end for Queso to make up in a little bit of time there. And you saw the spell power coming out for Spacestation. They knew that it was right.
Of 2v2. And again, RF and AC atop of your screen. Benny Who and I am JP at the bottom. Spacestation with a game in hand.
Yep, bans for your 2v2 set today is going to be Giant Skeleton by Team Queso. Spacestation Gaming taking Tornado off the board, which is why these miners are coming out, and they're very, very aggressive all over the place. Obviously, the one place you don't want to send it is the very inside tile closest to the King Tower, so it can't get snowballed. But otherwise, it's almost free reign.
AC and RF together share the number 2 spot in lifetime 2v2 wins, now at 49, one behind Razor, who took sole possession of that leading spot in our games yesterday. So this duo has a ton of experience together, one of the most experienced duos overall. Lifetime win rate together of 55%.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe the biggest thing last season for Immortals, which obviously it's not the same as Spacestation Gaming, but it's very similar roster, they couldn't close their matches out. They couldn't close their sets out. They pick up a game, whether it was in game 1 or game 2, but for some reason they just couldn't close stuff out. That's why when you look at their records, they're basically just 50%. I mean, not even basically. If you look at the last season, spring and fall, they're exactly down the middle at 50% in games won and lost. And that's something that they just need to tip a little bit more in their favor by closing sets out.
Here we go, passing the midway point of regulation, and it is Lumberloon heal for Spacestation. We'll see if, and they do have the freeze, much like we saw earlier today, and this bridged up balloon does get a big connection.
A great last second heal spirit plus freeze to allow that balloon to connect and give Spacestation a massive lead here in 2v2 with only 1 minute left. Honestly, I know they're going to still send in more balloons and try to keep up the pressure, but they can get there with minor and spell damage throughout. So maybe they start going pressure on the left, not sure. We'll see with this Musketeer working down the left-hand lane.
Bomb Tower Mega Knight set up on the right-hand side to respond to the Mega Knight Lumberjack of Team Queso, and Royal Giant behind. Let's see if this RG can work its way through. That's a huge lightning.
Yeah, it's a big lightning, but a great ice golem from Spacestation to keep everything bunched up so that Mega Knight could leap on through and get the most effect out of him DPS-wise. We know that he's not the strongest hitter, but that splash damage is brutal, and that is going to be towered down easily by RF and AC.
You know, Andrew, we were talking about this deck and the last time that we saw it in that and then our previous match, and you know, really taking a look at that freeze and what world it played, and you talk about matchup differences, and against that big deck, the freeze wasn't very useful here, coming to perfect use.
Yeah, I mean, because you look at the balloon responses, right? It's the Royal Delivery and the Inferno Tower, but not much else there. And AC and RF doing exactly what you'd expect them to do maybe at the end of 2018. 2019 back and forth, but 2020 looking good already for Spacestation Gaming and
2v1. Both of them have to feel a little bit less pressure facing off against Ruben, who's historically one of the hardest outs overall in all of Clash Royale League and of competitive Clash Royale heal spirit as well. And so you have this really great push that kind of died on the vine, and here we go, taking a look, and you see the lightning comes in, and JP may be a little bit low on elixir.
Yeah, just not really able to support the push they'd like. And the other thing is selling out that much on offense and getting so little out of it. You see this huge counter push coming back in, and there's nothing there to stop it. Delivery is not coming down. Tower's frozen. Miner is completely healthy in the back. Mega Knight is still tanking for the balloon and the miner. All things going right for SSG, or wrong if you're a fan of Team Queso. So a very one-sided 2v2 set. I feel like 1v1 will probably be a little bit different, but you never know. Both these guys are incredible in the 1v1 set. They have very similar records. I feel like it's even in 2v2 advantage to either squad. And actually, you know what? Let's just talk 1v1.
Yeah, in 1v1, and here we go. It's going to be Ruben and Lapacati. So The young Belarusian coming out. We'll see. We won't be seeing any swinging hips. Maybe he'll be doing a bit of Team Queso. Here we go. Game number 1. Space Station with the set advantage. We'll see if Ruben can even things up here against the former Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, these sophomores both coming out. Great records to back their name. 8-5 in his 1v1 game career is Lapicati. 4-2 in sets. On the other side of it, Ruben 7-3 in games, 3-1 in sets. So they do feel very, very evenly matched up here, and both of them just kind of hanging out right now.
Ruben does, with only one season, boast the top overall win rate in Clash Royale League West at 69% over the course of his career. And if you add in the numbers he put up in an SLO before joining into CRL, this man's record in competitive play is absolutely astounding. Many consider him to be, if not, of course, one of the top 3 or 5 players competitively in the world, possibly number 1. Lapicati does boast the top win rate in Space Station Gaming, and 10th overall in King of the Hill, although his 1v1 has been fairly good. Haven't seen a ton of it. Only 6 sets played throughout his career, and part of that being that 1v1 was the 3rd and final set. And look at this graveyard push, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, this whole giant graveyard archetype is just devastating. I mean, we saw what Wings did with it yesterday, and no one had any response to it. Lapicati gets a high Mega Knight here and a low Magic Archer. Yes, the Magic Archer's played a little bit early, but he takes a ton of damage, but he's got a great counter push coming in. That's definitely going to be towered down.
And that's going to be towered down opposite direction, so Ruben taking full advantage. Lapicati getting very aggressive with the graveyard early, and as we go into the final minute of regulation, it's Lapa who has the work to do. And check this out, Andrew. No true big spell to chip away on that right-hand side.
Yeah, he still has to focus his energy on the right-hand side, which is going to be very, very frustrating for him as he goes into this 2-tower game, if he can get there. 396 is not an unsubstantial amount of health. He's got to commit at least a couple pushes there, and Ruben is not going to just let that happen. So here we see the first one. Dark Prince plus Graveyard. That's a 9 elixir push on the right. So what does Ruben do? Sacrifice the tower and opts to build his big push here on the left.
And a nice delivery turns the Prince away as well.
Yeah. Wow, this is a lot for Lapo to deal with. I have no idea how there's any way he can defend this.
The E-Wiz behind, the Piggy's super duper healthy. Arrow's trying to stop it, but now some Magic Archer might add a bit more chip on top. This is going to be a huge advantage, and remember, we are in a single tower situation, so when you're looking at these two decks, which one will play better when you're single tower at this stage? Well, Graveyard gets hurt a lot more by that King Cannon than Royal Hawks.
Yeah, 150%. And the other thing, too, is on that last push, there was just so much healthy unit from Ruben hanging out. I mean, that Bandit was completely untouched on the other side of the bridge for maybe 15 seconds.
Entering the final 90 seconds of play, and Lapicati does have the ability to put a lot of pressure on with that Graveyard, but has to save so much elixir on defense. The second he commits, it could be trouble, and here we go. Piggy's in. Goblin Cage not available to pick them up. This could be
That's
tower,
it.
Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, there's the problem here, Rich, is that there's really no way for Lapo to truly go on offense, right? Because if he's going to go on offense, he has to commit 10 elixir that provides 0 defensive utility. Tenfold.
And you have to wonder a little bit, Andrew, about that opening push from Lapicati, the giant Graveyard, 9 elixir that early, single elixir time. Yes, he got a ton of damage, but it didn't take the tower. He sacrificed a tower himself, and then Lapicati in that opening game, maybe a bit of an overextension. Ruben taking full advantage, and here we go, Andrew, the final moments of that first game.
Yeah, and you see it here, Ruben just doing what he needs to do. Just play some defense, don't overcommit too much, and then go heavy back on offense. And that Bandit in the pocket, the dash is so great because not only does it take the King Tower away, but it dashes right on top of, I believe, the E-Wiz there, taking one of the best defensive cards out of hand, or not E-Wiz, excuse me, was it the Night Witch or the Musketeer?
With a chance to send us to King of the Hill.
Yeah, what I really want to see here in Game 2 is I want to see Lapicati pump the brakes on such heavy hits. Now, I'm okay with opening with a Miner at 7 elixir, I guess. That seems okay. But just the brakes. We don't need to see a giant Graveyard as your first play, man.
And for a half second there, I was wondering, is Lapo going to go Mortar for game 2 yet again? But instead, minor wall breakers with a bit of control for the Space Station gaming player.
And that's one of the things that we've seen Lapo really, really excel at. It's very quick cycle, high, very precise interaction decks that he makes look very simple. I mean, that 4-spell deck that got really, really popular in GCs and ladder after he ran it at CRL, that deck was not easy to play. And he made it look so dominant and so easy. So seeing him go back to very quick cycle and control, I'm happy about.
Pressure staying on this left-hand side for Ruben. Lapacati trying to move in as quickly as he can, knowing that knows he can defend most of these and not take too much. A lot of players would have pulled the trigger and gotten much more aggressive earlier on, but Ruben is a very seasoned, very cerebral player, and so far just biding his time until we get to double.
Yeah, and double elixir, Lapacati knows he did not get as much damage in on either tower that he'd like. He knows he's in a little bit of trouble. I wouldn't say that he's thinking like, oh man, how am I ever going to win this? But he knows he's in a little bit of trouble for sure.
Cage picked all that up fairly easily again. Lapo trying to keep that extra damage off the tower, and a nice pickup with the Valkyrie high. And here we go, Miner to the back. Lapo spreading them thin, and there comes the NATO. Very late King Tower activation, but these wall breakers might go all the way.
Yes, they do, and there's the Golem coming down. You had to assume it was going to be the Golem. Looking at the cards that were already out there, now we've seen Golem run to varied success in the new meta. We'll see how Ruben busts it out here, but he's in a very, very good spot in the sense of having the NATO and the Bar Barrel to deal with those pushes on the right-hand side, so Lapo has to overcommit on these offenses.
Rocket will get the Baby Dragon off the board, do a lot to that Golem, and the Ice Wiz, NATO, and Valk all together, a lot of good defensive tools for Lapacati in this matchup. Just does not want to give that one big nasty push.
Yeah, so Miner going to keep coming in here. There's a Lightning. That's a little bit of trouble for Lapo because now his defense has become a little bit harder here with his Ice Wiz and Princess Tower going to be pretty much always in the line of fire of that Lightning if another Golem push does come down.
And now a lot of expenditure and defensive tools out for Ruben. So you see Lapacati putting the pressure on that left-hand side. Will he drop wall breakers once that Goblin Brawler comes out? 2 Ice Wizzes, and now he pressures the right-hand lane as well.
And he has to keep it up. He really has to keep up the pressure because the moment that Ruben makes a great positive elixir trade defensively or can eat a little bit of damage, as you're saying, min-maxing, he's going to get another Golem down. So here we go. He finds himself in a good enough spot. He knows that his opponent can't put up too much damage right now. There's the NATO to pull everything back, and now we got a real Golem push coming from Ruben on the left-hand side.
Yeah, the Golem in front of King Tower to set up that entire situation that you saw, and a wall breaker connection on the right-hand side. A lot of damage for Lapo.
Yeah, big time damage. You know Ruben is going for the kill right now, but he has to be able to get that damage in on the tower because he doesn't get the death damage from the Golem, which is huge.
Final minute, triple elixir, and this is where Ruben would hope to be getting the advantage, but at this point he might be too far behind. This might be Rocket Cycle City for Lapacati, and now just has to play some defense, get back to another Rocket. The pressure from Lapo was brilliant. The Lightning was not able to make enough room for Ruben to break all the way through and take advantage. A nice mixture of minor wall breaker speed, control from Lapo, and he evens things up in game number 2.
And that is what Lapo is so good at, is that control. He's so good at keeping track of his own cycle, his opponent's cycle, knowing where his elixir's at, and defending incredibly efficiently. And that's what he did. Time fences. He split his units apart so that they could not all get lightning, and he was able to keep the pressure up on offense. Ruben was in the most difficult position to be in as a Golem player, which is never having enough elixir to get a Golem down. That was the thing, is there's definitely times in there where I would have found myself going, all right, now I am minor wall breakers, but then I would have not had that 3 elixir to tornado on defense.
And here we go.
And this is one of those moments.
Yep. Go ahead, Andrew.
I was just gonna say, this is one of those moments. You know, the 2 wall breakers come down on the right-hand side. He tornadoes on the left. He only had 5 elixir in hand. That's the absolute best way to defend that.
And there you go. You saw the first rocket come in, and all that Lapo had to do at this point, once he had this advantage, knowing that there was no way to really make it a big push, get through fast enough, get back to the second rocket, take care of business, end things.
Game number 2. Let's get in to game 3.
Lapacati, top of your screen, Ruben, bottom of your screen. This one a little bit slower than we've seen in the past. It's been all fast and furious to open things up, Andrew, and now we might be doing the full 2-minute dance.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine the pressure is pretty through the roof for Ruben at the moment, whereas Lapacati, I know he wants to win this and close things out, but it's definitely not the same.
And Ruben getting aggro to open things up. 5 Elixir at the bridge. Night Witch and Skelly's in response. We'll see if Lapo goes for a full-on counter push.
Yeah, we'll see. He's got a lot of Elixir in hand. He decides not to, and opt to maybe drop something in the back. There it is, Flying Machine in the back. We see Flying Machine, we see Night Witch, Rich. Do you think we'll see a clone?
It's not impossible. It's certainly not impossible. You know, specifically, I was messing around with a version of this in our off time the last couple of days, but we'll see if that's the direction it goes, and it would certainly be a big surprise at this moment in this meta.
Yeah, so it definitely looking like maybe it is Lava Clone. I don't know.
Here we go, first minute 15 away, and it is Ruben with the only significant damage because of those Royal Hogs on the right-hand side.
Yep, and Lava
if he's
here
going
playing
to the air, that Mega Knight's going to be an interesting dance to deal with.
Yeah, you know, obviously having the Magic Archer and the E-Wiz are going to really help if it is in the sky, but their damage, their single target damage is not super high, and it's very difficult to get through to that Flying Machine if you don't have a big spell.
And it might just be the EQ, and who knows if they have a small spell of some sort. So typically you don't see EQ and big spell together. The Magic Archer going to help here, but even then that Flying Machine will get some damage on tower. Except for that.
Yep, so Royal Hogs have to come down. That's another 8 Elixir expenditure there as you go into double Elixir time. And this feels like a moment where Lapo could either let this die on the vine and then Lava Hound up in the back, maybe?
Delivery comes in, and so much value still from Delivery. Pushes back the Brawler, knocks back the Baby Dragon, and kites for the Baby Dragon.
Now,
So 3 Elixir to counter.
I was just going to say, I think it's actually going to be Golem. And then there it is, because I was just like, it feels like he would have played his Lava Hound in that moment there, but instead he decides to Night Witch in the back, so we can't expect the Golem. I'm still thinking it's Clone, man.
Yeah, if it is, it'll be certainly exciting. Poison working on that left-hand side on the Magic Archer. Flying Machine completely untouched, so Ewiz has to come up high to clean that Flying Machine up, but that's still going to be a ton of damage on the right-hand side. And Snowball just slowing things down enough here to make some room on defense for Lapacati.
And I love the Snowball because not only did it slow stuff down, but it took out the only unit that could defend against the air, so that Baby Dragon becomes so much more effective against the Brawler, the Mega Knight, and of course the Royal Delivery.
Here we go, sudden death overtime. Golem, Night Witch, right-hand side. Mega Knight in response. Brawler will meet for the bridge battle.
The interesting thing about
will
this
be in cycle when he wants it.
Is that Ruben is not ever trying to go opposite lane pressure. He's just fighting these bridge battles and then trying to get the counter push from each one. And I'm just curious to see if he's going to be able to keep this up long enough, because the Golem is still getting through. And now we're going to see that this tower is going to be basically even with Lapo's top right tower.
Bandit comes down as a kite to try to keep stuff off the tower, and it does. Mostly a little bit of splash damage there from the Baby Dragon, but then the Flying Machine connects.
That is big time. 668 Golem coming back down the lane, and I'm feeling like this could be a 2-set sweep, Rich. I don't know how Ruben's going to recover from this. He can't start going in the opposite lane now. He hasn't been doing it for too long, and now his tower is way too low.
Poison going to work on that. Ewiz in the back. Ruben down to only 4. Delivery does come out, but Delivery not going to do enough cleanup here. Flying Machine. Again, so hard to deal with. No real answer for Ruben for a second Flying Machine down. That's going to be a GG. Well played. Space Station Gaming makes it 2-2-0 sweeps on the day.
Wow, so your 4 and 5 seeds today climb up the rankings with some incredible plays. So incredibly well. Lapo came out hyper aggressive in game 1. He completely readjusted in games 2 and 3. And maybe it was even the decks that he played. Maybe it was the fact that he played control and then played Golem that made him go, look, I need to pump the brakes here. And it reels at lane. or Golem up in the front if they don't go hyper aggressive. And Ruben was never able to pull the trigger on the left-hand lane because Lapo didn't overcommit early on with his Golem. And then you saw this, he's just stuck in this horrible rinse and repeat cycle of taking damage, poison damage, Golem explosion damage, Golem chip damage, every single push.
And you commented on it, Andrew. There was really no answer for the flying machine. You know,
Yeah.
we there was nothing that could deal with in the air, the delivery.